Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for Unforgettable Entrepreneurs, Episode 8. My name is Shannon Confair. For those of you who don't know me, I am a branding strategist and branding photographer, and I love working with world-changing entrepreneurs who are on a mission to make a difference in the world with their businesses. And so today I am joined with Giovanna, and I will let her introduce herself and tell you a little bit about what she does and who she works with.
Hey, Shannon. Hey, guys. Thank you so much for having me, Shannon, today on your show, I was going to say. I'm Giovanna. I'm a coach and a consultant, and I work mainly with women around their business and relationships, and in particular around the issue of visibility and how that relates to building their business and standing out in the world, and also in their relationships and asking for and getting what they desire.
Awesome. And so you are perfect to talk about this subject today. One of the biggest things I see when I'm working with my clients, when we're getting ready for a photo shoot, a lot of them are like, hey, having my picture taken. Yeah. And I'm uncomfortable. And I know for me, it's even hard for me to be visible. Now I've gotten much more comfortable with it, but at the beginning, I didn't like it. And there are still times where I feel like, okay, I just don't want the world to see me right now. I go back into my shell and I'll just hide for a week or two and just not even be out there at all.
Really?
It's this weird thing. I can be consistent every day for a long time. And then all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? I just want to have me time and not be out in the world right now. But, I think it's something really interesting to talk about. So my question to you is, why do women hide? What do you see when women don't want to be visible?
Yeah. So before I answer that, I wanted to speak to that. Sometimes you're like, and you're like, Shannon, I'm out there. And then sometimes you're just I'm like that too. Okay. I still have visibility issues, right? So that's I call myself an ambivert, right? So I'm really great at sort of being out there. And I love when I'm doing speaking, or if I'm teaching a group or I'm doing a training, I love interacting with people. And then I'm done, cut. I need to go into the cave. I need to recuperate because I'm very empathic that way, and I thrive on energy, but I also pick it up.
Yes.
So that's okay. That's not a visibility issue, right? So was what is it that why do women have issues with visibility, or why do they hide, kind of thing?
Why do women hide? Why do we not want to be out there?
It really boils down to two primal things, and it's very caveman, drag your knuckles on the floor. But here it is: safety and fear, right? So the fear keeps you safe. We have this sort of tribal way of thinking and being, which is that we are tribal beings. We function in community, and if you think back to the days of when we were cave people. And we got, too noticed, too seen. We stepped out of line. We went against what the tribe was doing as a group. We got kicked out of the tribe. And back then, you didn't just, roll up to a Motel 8, get a room and hunker down until you had a new tribe. You're out. You're out in the cold. And it's death. It equals death. Mm-hmm. So this is something that operates inside of all of us. This is something that we still have, Who am I to step out, to be different, to be visible? What is my family going to say? What are my friends going to think? Who am I to do this thing? It's really scary. It's really threatening. And the other piece around that is being visible requires vulnerability. And vulnerability is super scary. I was just telling you before we started how I got my first ever Twitter hate tweets or hate mail, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And, at first I got kind of triggered, and then I was like, yeah, this is awesome, because it's scary to be polarizing. It's scary to be out there and have an opinion and stand for what you believe, or for what you're selling, or for who you are. Because someone's going to disagree with you, and someone's going to come in, and someone's going to be sitting on their soapbox at home and have something nasty to say. And that can be really scary and threatening. And I work with people across the spectrum, new entrepreneurs, or even working with people that are already quite visible, that you might look at them and say, well, they don't have a visibility issue. but we all do because it's so intrinsic and it's so primal. So those are the two main reasons why we have issues around visibility. And then, it trickles down into, what I call professional self-esteem. If you're having an issue really believing in what you bring and what the services that you offer, it's going to be really scary to put yourself out there, because the second someone challenges you, you're going to sort of shrink away. So there's this tribal idea, and then of course there's the self-confidence piece and your professional self-esteem.
Yeah, that's really good stuff. I guess I've never really thought about it from the tribal perspective, but that makes so much sense to me, because like stepping out there and being visible, it can be polarizing. If you're not polarizing, I feel like you're not truly being visible, right? We're still like, and I do that too. There's times when I'm like, oh, do I really want to say that? Not that I have a super polarizing message or anything myself, but I think for me, it comes down to knowing who I'm speaking to and like not worrying about the rest, because the rest, they're not my audience. So if they don't like what I have to say, it's totally okay.
They're not your peeps. Exactly. They're not your peeps. And this with branding and, with who you are and who you be in the world, it can be polarizing, but you want that. Otherwise, you don't really have a brand or let's say a brand identity or a business identity, right? And so those people that don't like you and the haters, it can be hard, but they're not your people, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think what I want women to hear that are listening to this is it's a process to get to that point where you can say, like, forget the rest. I know who I'm talking to. Like, I know my stuff. So don't be discouraged if you're hearing this and you're like, well, I don't feel that way. It takes time. I didn't always feel that way. And I don't know about you, Giovanna, but I'm sure you didn't always feel that way.
I mean, I have days of feeling that way and not that way, like on a weekly basis. Like I'm not, we teach what we most need to learn. Like the reason that I ended up focusing on, I call them, my triad, which is presence, visibility, and authenticity, is because I've had to struggle with that. I've had to come through and up, and I'm still not done yet, but yeah. I know where I was to where I am now. I mean, I probably couldn't have done this Facebook Live with you 4 years ago or 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, I don't know, like, where am I supposed to look? Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't like the way I look on camera. What does my hair do? I mean,
yeah,
it's neurotic. So I get it. Yeah. And it doesn't happen overnight.
And the other thing that I think is a key issue, I see it come up over and over and over again in like Facebook groups, and even before Facebook groups were a big thing, I remember seeing it. And that is people worrying about what their family thinks and like holding back. That I think is the hardest thing to get over with visibility, is being visible to your family. What do you have to say to that?
Sister, I'm Italian. Italian, I mean, it's not just Italians. I mean, there's so many cultures where like tribally you're just like this, right? And especially, first of all, growing up, as some of my younger friends remind me, we didn't have this thing called the interweb. So, visibility was you showing up in a classroom and being the new girl. And trust me, I know that one, right? It's not fun. And a lot of people listening probably have had that. So, the fact that now we have this thing called the internet and Facebook and all kinds of other platforms where we're not just broadcasting to our family, but we're actually going, ta-da, like, this is who I am, this is my message, and everyone's listening and your family, but they don't know you that way. Like, that's not who you were at home. It's not maybe what you talk about at family dinners. So all of a sudden, I had this issue where it was like, oh my God, like, which one of me is real? Like, is it like the little girl that grew up in this family that kind of had this identity? Or is it the me now and what I believe in and what I talk about and what I get excited about and what I like empower people to get excited about in their own lives? It's both. It's both and it's really, it really is a big trigger for people. I know it was for me, because your tribe, right? Like where you came from, they might have different expectations. A lot of the women that I work with get drawn to the fact that I've chosen to break a lot of the molds. I'm 41 years old and I didn't do what my three other sisters did that are older than me. Mm-hmm. And God bless them. I I have 7 nieces and nephews now. You know, I've got this beautiful big family, and they chose to go that way, and I didn't. And there's nothing wrong with that choice or this choice, but a lot of the women that sort of come, I hate using the word attraction because yes, I believe in the law of attraction, people, but there's refinements to it. But women that get attracted, let's say, to come work with me, because they've checked off all the boxes, and they're still struggling with visibility. They're still struggling with, can I break out of this mold that society set up for me? That's another huge thing for women in visibility, right? Like society, I'm going to get on my feminist soapbox here. Society, for the most part, has been, be a good girl. Like, be a good girl. Like, don't shatter, molds. Don't just toe the line and be a good girl, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to swear because it's Facebook Live and I don't know whose children are in the room, but that's not, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So we have Chelsea said, oh Lord, yeah, I'm part of an Italian family too, and they always have to share their opinions, mostly unsolicited.
Oh yeah, I know.
Boy, can it be hard to be put back in your place on a regular basis. So, yeah. Giovanna, what can you speak to that?
So only know, Chelsea, I hear you. And it's not back in your place. They're trying to put you back in their place. Because when you're stepping out and you have opinions or you have a way that you want to be or shine or be of service in the world that's different from theirs, they love you, but it's threatening to them. Like let's go back to this whole tribal mentality. It's like, wait, you're going to do different things. You're going to highlight to me that maybe the choices I've made are not the choices for you. And wait, does that mean something's wrong with my life? So you stepping out of the mold really challenges people because it makes them look at their stuff. It makes them look at where they've just settled, where they've just kind of towed the line and did what everybody else did before them. So you're threatening to them. And of course they love you and they're also scared for you, right? Because what happens when we see someone breaking out of the mold? It's like, oh my God, you don't know that big bad world out there, right? You don't know that. And so there is an element of them trying to protect you and sheltering you, but not putting you back in your place. They're putting you back in their place. Just remember that and keep going.
That's such a good way to look at it. Something that I've learned recently, in the past year is looking at, when you're in a family or in any kind of a social group, everybody has their own role. And when somebody decides to take on a new role, everybody else around them has to change their role as to how it relates to that person. And that is an uncomfortable and difficult place to be in. And rarely, I bet ever, is it smooth, easy process,
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I know in my family, like, I don't want to say I'm the rebel, but I'm probably the most outward rebel anyway. My sisters were, but they just didn't get caught. So, so I know, like, for me, I've in a way, I've always had this, like, well, I don't care what anyone else thinks of me mentality. Like, I'm going to do what I want. That was my outside, but on the inside, that wasn't totally true. So It was more of an arrogant kind of hiding wounds thing. I think just like a weird combination. So I'm speaking through that. But I feel like the healthy place to be is, I'm going to do what I know I'm called to do. And not everybody's going to be comfortable with that. And that's okay. And just reminding yourself of that consistently.
And just like I want to, because how brave is that? Because how many of us, and I'm going to include myself in this, we start to rebel and then we just kind of like, get pushed down. And that's usually, I was really rebellious against the culture and upbringing when I was a teenager and a young adult, let's say. Really rebellious. I am not getting married. I am not having the picket fence. I am not having babies. I was just like, no, I'm not. Like, of course, Italian parents like, marry a nice Italian boy. Like, my life was literally like my big fat Greek wedding. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, I'm not doing it. I remember the day I said to my mother, I'm not getting married in a church. I think she about fainted. Like, what? Oh my God. And I said, no, why should I get married in a church? You know, I'm going to get married in the forest. You know, my mom was like, oh my God, I have a hippie child, you know. But that evolves, right? Like that teenager, young adult rebellion ends up evolving into something healthy. And even though I was the first one to leave my house and go travel the world, you know, in my early 20s, I was the first one to just move away from my city and country and just go live. I moved to Mexico 4 years ago, and I was just like, I'm moving, I'm changing my lifestyle. You know, I was the first one to do all these things, and I don't even live in Canada anymore. I don't live in Toronto near my family. But there was a period of time where I still got sucked back into that. I was with someone for 7 years, and he was an awesome guy, and he had a great job, and he was a good provider. And I suddenly found myself, as much as I rebelled, checking all the boxes that my family said, these are and my upbringing said. And I thought I was happy until one day I was sitting in my big 3,100 square foot house up in my office, and I was looking out at the window on the cul-de-sac where we lived, and all the moms were out there, and they were talking about, you know, their kids and what was on sale at Walmart and whatever else they were talking about. And I looked out there and I thought, I'm going to kill myself. Like it wasn't for me, and there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But it wasn't for me. And that's the important thing, is recognizing what's for you and what's for them.
Yep.
Honoring it.
I love that. I love it. So I want to move to, you know, so when women stop hiding, what do you see happen in their lives?
This I showed you before, right? Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Woman. So she's my girl. She's everywhere. She's my archetype. So when women, honestly, and like all joking aside, when women stop hiding, you know, there is going to be challenge. There is going to be that uncomfortable growth period, right? It's the post-traumatic growth. But when women stop hiding, I really, really, truly, and honestly believe that's how this world is going to change. You know, when women stop hiding, all they do, like in my mind, when you ask that question, I see a relay race. I see a relay race, and I think of Ram Dass's quote, "We're all just walking each other home." You know, and it's not just for women. It doesn't just apply for women. We live in a world with beautiful, amazing men. I love men. Yeah. And the children, but I see it as a relay race, because when one woman rises, the next one rises. And it's just, you know, putting your hand down, you can't see my hand, but putting your hand down, grabbing the next hand and rising her up. So, you know,
so beautiful.
Pardon?
That's so beautiful, like that visual of that.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me cry just thinking about it, because we have to lift each other up, and we have to remind ourselves and each other that, you know, to come from love and to come from this place is the most powerful thing you can do. And I always think of Marianne Williamson's quote from A Return to Love, which if you haven't read that book, it's amazing. Please read it. And it's that quote that everyone was attributing to Nelson Mandela about, you know, shining your light, and who are you not to shine your light? Like, the world needs what you have, right? The world needs your light. And so you playing small or hiding, you know, much like I tell myself every day, is not going to serve others. So when a woman starts to come out, let's say, and not hide, I think that's in service to all of her sisters and brothers and everyone else.
Absolutely. And that's the same thing that I have said so many times. Like, don't ask who are you to do this? Who are you to not do this? Like, who are you to hide your gifts and talents from the world? Like, you've been given these gifts for a reason. Like, put them to good use. There's people out there who specifically need you and what you have to offer.
Yeah. And look, I'm speaking to myself as much as I'm speaking to you and to anyone else that's on this live right now. I mean, I go through this. I have to do this I mean, you know, I have fat days. I have my hair doesn't look good days. I have, like, who's going to listen to me? Like, God, who am I? Like, what am I going to say? I don't, you know, I have all of that crap too. And I think that's just keeping it real. But then it's what's the next step, and what's the next step, and what's the next step. And, you know, for me, you know, definitely breaking out of the molds that were set for me has been my lifelong journey. I've been in personal and spiritual development for over 20 years. I started young. And it's always been about that. It's always been about, like, I don't think that's me. So what is me? Like, what do I want? What makes my heart sing? You know, where is the place that I'm meant to shine or be of service? And that doesn't mean, you know, becoming a rock star or being Oprah necessarily, might, right? But it's just where am I going to be my authentic self in the world?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a beautiful thing, I think, when you can find that and figure it out. So are there any practical steps that you can recommend to women, you know, when they realize, like, I've been hiding, I don't want to hide anymore? Like, what is step one?
Yeah, it's probably one of the toughest steps, which is to get real with what you want. And what that looks like is, you know, your children are calling you.
No, you keep talking. I'll be right back. I'm going to go take care of the dog real quick.
What it looks like is writing it down. And so one of the questions that I ask my clients to do, one of the things I try to do on a regular basis, is sit down with myself and ask myself this powerful question. If there were no consequences and I gave myself all the permission I needed and I needed no one else's permission, you know, what would I do and who would I be unapologetically in this world, right? So what would I do in terms of my career? What would I do in terms of my living arrangements? You know, who would I be? How would I want to show up in the world? What job would I have if I have a job? What kind of partner or lifestyle do I want to have? Like, really asking the questions. If I had to just unapologetically live and not expect anyone's permission and there were no consequences, what would I do? Who would I be? You know, I asked myself this question so many times and I kept getting, I want to go live in a beautiful tropical place and I want to swim in the ocean and I just want to have this beach lifestyle. And I was saying it so much and I was so connected to it. And finally, I had a girlfriend say to me, and this is step 2, is start talking about it, start putting it out there. I finally had a girlfriend say to me, she's like, if you are still living in this country, I was in Canada at the time. She's like, if you were still living in this country a year from today, she's like, I'm going to come and run you over with my car. Sometimes your friends have to threaten violence, but it's like, it was, you know, getting support. So, you know, get real with what you want. Get support. Like, surround yourself with people who are going to light the fire on those flames, like not with people who are just going to, like, you know, Chelsea was saying, like, just pour the water, you know, like, get real, like, who are you? And surround yourself by people, by a community, by a mentor, by friends who are going to say, yeah, like, freaking do it. Let's go for it. So those are the 2 most important things. And then, of course, the third one is, you know, take action. However, I mean, you don't have to pack up your things, put them in storage and move to a foreign country like I did. You can do steps. I tend to rip off the Band-Aid and go jump into the flames, but you can do small steps. You know, you can make little incremental changes that feel safe enough to you. And they'll still start to shake things up. Right. But those would be my 3 things.
Absolutely. And it's awesome. Like, number one, we are kindred spirits because I'm like, I need to live by the ocean and like dip my toes in the sand in the water like every day. So that's on my vision board. It's going to happen. I'm just saying it now. But yeah, when I'm working with people, the very first thing we do is create that vision. Before we can you can't talk about anything else. If you don't have a vision, you can't create a roadmap to get to where you're going without the vision. You need to know your destination.
Absolutely.
So, vision is absolutely number one. I love that you said that. And then, you know, talking about it, and I think that sometimes people get hung up in talking about it, depending on who they're talking to. So like you said, find the right people to talk to. Yeah. This most likely is not going to be your family. Like, it's just not, no matter how supportive they are, most likely not them. So find friends who are like-minded.
My sister lives in Fort Myers, Chelsea. I'm coming there soon.
Yes. We'll do, yes. I'll come down and do like a second photo shoot for you there.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. And then, you know, something I wanted to talk about briefly is when I'm working with people with a brand photo shoot. I do want to tie it into that. And I want to talk to you about that because I know you've had brand photo shoots before.
So much fun.
Yeah, they are. It's kind of fun. Stop hiding. Get in front of the camera. But I see such a transformation take place with my clients. And I had one of my clients say something along the lines of, you know, it's one thing to have a vision board. It's one thing to see yourself on that vision board. And so, like, I realized when you put yourself out there in that way and you have a photo shoot, I feel like it helps women see, at least this is how I try to capture them. I want to capture who you really are inside, even if you can't see it yet. You know, sometimes we just have to have that visual, like, wow, that is who I am. Like, I'm already her. And I just have to take the steps to live it out. And so if you are struggling with visibility, and I hate, like, I'm not just plugging myself, like, find a brand photographer, do a properly branded photo shoot. If you're in business, if you're not an entrepreneur and you're watching this, just have a photo shoot done.
Anyway.
Yes. Like, I want to do these shoots with like hashtag why the hell not? Like, why shouldn't every woman get to experience what my entrepreneur clients experience? I think we all need to experience seeing ourselves that way.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more because we talked about this the first time you and I talked on the phone, and my last photo shoot was when I was living in Australia. It's the photos that are up now and all my branding stuff and on my website. I was living in Australia, and I have to tell you, it was the funnest day of my life. I mean, I'm not married yet. I don't know if I will be, but I didn't have that wedding day thing. But I was like, oh my God, this is what it feels like. It was so much fun. And like, I love that you brought up the point about the vision board. And, I don't do vision boards, but if I did, and I had a picture of someone up there that I admired, there is still that tendency to compare yourself. But if I had a picture of me on my best day as my best self, looking gorgeous, looking confident, I can look back at that and I don't have to say, oh, I wish I was that person. I'm like, wait a second, that is me, that is me. So I love that you compared it to that. And it really does something. I've actually had a lot of my clients who are entrepreneurs who end up doing their branding photo shoot. And I definitely see a switch in them. I see a switch in their confidence. I see a switch in like, oh my God, like, yeah, I can shine. I can be in front of the camera. And it's such a process, a healing process too, because it's not just that you have the day and you take the photos, then you have to display them.
Yes.
To the world, right? Like that's another level up of like, oh my God. So it's a great tool for increasing visibility for sure.
Yep, absolutely. And guys, I want to just put this out there too, to be completely transparent. Like, I still have a hard time putting my own photos out there that I've had done. And so it can be uncomfortable, even though you see the photos and you feel like I look amazing. I love these. I love how I look. It is, again, another stepping stone to put them out there through the world. So just do it anyways. Like, what's the quote? Like, do it scared. Just do it. Put it out there. And I'm telling you, like, good change and transformation comes from it, from taking that risk.
Yeah.
So, and we need you out there. Like, we need you to live everything else.
Yeah.
So, Giovanna, what is your website? I would love to put it up here and tell people where they can find you and how they can follow up with you.
Yeah, so probably the best, because people won't be able to spell my name, but it's sherisespodcast.com. It's the same as giovannacapozza.com, but usually when I'm on like an interview, nobody can spell that. So there you go. She Rises Podcast is easy to remember. I, as you can tell from the title, host a weekly podcast as well. So that's where they can find out a little bit more about me and the show. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, any parting words for people, words of wisdom, to leave this broadcast as they go out and are feeling encouraged to be visible?
Yeah, I would just say, like, I want to echo what you said, like, do it scared, like, hold your breath and do it. And here's the thing, here's what drives like visibility through fear, is that you have to be connected to enough of a thing and feel passionate enough about it. And that's going to push you through any visibility stuff. It's going to push you through anything. It's more a pull than a push, really, right? So it's not just visibility for visibility's sake, which in our culture we have. Like, I mean, everybody's selfieing. People have an Instagram account with a gajillion fans, but they don't really do anything in the world. They just have a really great rack and they have good selfies, right? It's not visibility for visibility's sake. It's not about feeding the ego. It's about knowing that what you have to share and who you are and your light that's in you and that God-given energy that wants to come out of you needs to come out. We need it. We need your voice. We need your visibility. And so connect with that. And then, like you said, do it scared. Just jump in.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And everyone, as you know, you can find me online. Find me on Instagram at Shannon Confair if you want to see, my work, and join my Facebook group called Unforgettable Entrepreneurs. I will post a link in the comments below this video when we're through. But in there, we talk about branding, visibility, brand strategy, ideal clients, like anything branding and business related. I'm an open book, so I would encourage you to join us there as well. So thank you all so much. Thank you, Giovanna, for joining us and giving us your time and your incredible wisdom around this subject. And I will see you all later. So take care, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.